when you capture a new email address, this is where the lead is the hottest. So this is where they are looking to solve a problem. They have literally downloaded a lead magnet to address a specific need. In this video, I want to share with you how to transform your B2B podcast audience and content into clients so that you can solve branding and lead gen for good with your B2B podcast. I'm Guillaume. I'm the co-founder of GHA Marketing. We've launched and grown 107 B2B podcasts so far. I personally host 2 leading podcasts in 2 different niches, corporate treasury and consulting. And this is exactly how we go about transforming the content into an audience that then transform into clients. And we're going to talk about a few other things which are the ultimate level of B2B podcasting. This video, by the way, is part of a series of videos to complement a book called B2B Podcasting Secrets, where we break down our entire playbook on how we solve branding and lead gen for good for B2B businesses. If you're interested, the link is in the description. This is the last video of the series, so we're gonna take it a bit more chill. We're gonna do it between ourselves and not optimize for YouTube retention and fast-paced talking. This is really the ultimate level of podcasting. Like, I don't recommend getting into B2B podcasting and aiming for that directly. Audience to clients funnel, maybe, but like speaking hack and ultimate level with the B2B sponsors are not something to be thought of or even considered in the first few months of the podcast, let alone first few weeks. Typically takes years to get there. But if you're curious about the potential of a B2B podcast and what can happen multiple years from now if you do it right consistently, this is for you. And there is, of course, a case study which is crazy of one of our clients in the playbook highlighting these very concepts. So have a look if you're interested. So audience to clients funnel, let's start with this. So you've made it that far, you understand the power of a B2B podcast when it comes to content repurposing and the content waterfall, right? That we tackled in another video. Long form, short form, written content, trailers, everything you can think of in terms of content as it is done today, you can get out of a podcast, which is absolutely crazy. Now, all this content can actually be more than just views and vanity metrics. It can be leads and then clients. Again, this is all assuming that your podcast is properly positioned, targeting a very specific ICP, and that all the content, the positioning, the visual aspect of the podcast, the name caters to that specific audience. If this is true, then here is what happens as of when you start publishing content for that very niche. You take all that content, which is at the end of the day top of funnel, but also middle of funnel, and you have call to actions towards different lead magnets and email capture forms in order to build an audience and an email list as well. The whole idea here is to say, whether we're talking about the long form, the short form, the articles, trailers, all that can be redirecting people towards where you want them to be. As we've seen in the previous video, if you have short form content from the podcast, you can redirect people towards the long form. If you have a written article, you can say, hey, find out more on this conversation with XYZ, or watch the entire YouTube video and so on. What you can also do when you start optimizing for leads is to say, hey, if you liked this piece of content, you will probably insert here the name of your lead magnet. And again, if it's properly positioned for the right people with the right pain points and the right desired outcomes, you're directly talking to an audience who will be interested in that lead magnet. So having those call to actions a bit everywhere on your pieces of content, in the audio, in the show notes, on the videos, visually as well, will lead you to build an email list, or at least capture leads email addresses. How do we go about that? So obviously you need at least one lead magnet, and I've heard a lot, and I'm hearing you saying from here, although I'm in the south of France right now, I'm hearing you say, oh, lead magnets don't work anymore. And you would be partially right. Bad lead magnets don't work anymore because people have seen them all. People have downloaded lead magnets and ebooks that have been written by ChatGPT and do not make any sense and do not help. Like, yes, bad lead magnets do not work anymore. We have clients who get hundreds of leads each and every month with qualified ones with a proper lead magnet. Corporate Treasury 101, one of our very own podcasts, gets on average 154 qualified leads each and every month. It's all about having the right lead magnet, advertising that lead magnet and calling to action to it properly, and then having the right email nurture sequence behind it. The next level of that is to have different lead magnets depending on the different pieces of content that you publish. If you're going to talk about one specific topic, for instance, how to find guests on your podcast, and you have a lead magnet that breaks down the exact copy that has been proof tested to get the right people through the door, this is a lead magnet that could be of high interest. If you help ADHD entrepreneurs and you offer as a lead magnet a dashboard that will allow you to organize your week according to your condition, this is going to be super valuable. So this is an actual example from one of our clients. So good lead magnets absolutely outperform when they are good. And you want to have the right call to actions at the right places and also the right lead magnets attached to the right content. Now, something that is super, super important when it comes to capturing an audience and transforming them into leads and then transforming them into clients is to actually track everything. So that's why I'm saying this is a bit the next level of podcasting, but you want to be able to track every single actions that people are taking throughout your funnel. Let me explain. So obviously you're going to get your views, your engagements, like basically all the top of funnel content that is getting the views and the reach in the first place. So you want to track that very seriously. Then when you start implementing lead magnets, you also want to track how many people listen to a specific type of content, how many people take action by clicking on the link in specific show notes. So you want those to be UTMs, tracking links, so that you know how many people clicked on the call to action towards a lead magnet for a specific piece of content or for a specific platform. So you should absolutely have at least one tracking link per platform. At the next level of this is one tracking link per piece of content. But again, this is very much advanced, and this is when you have a very broad audience. But knowing where your leads are coming from, which platform, which piece of content, becomes super important, because then you can just do more of what works and less of what doesn't. So tracking, attribution becomes key. And then the next step of all this is nurturing those leads via email. So once you capture their email address, thanks to the lead magnet and the great content that you've been putting out there, you have to bear in mind that most of those people will have consumed your content for a little while already. They will have taken action. And if the lead magnet is good, they have like positive behavior reinforcement that what you're doing is good and is actually helping them. So they are more likely to open your emails, to read them, and to take action, potentially book a call if the nurture emails are good. And this is going to be my last point on this. If you want to understand where your funnel is broken, you kind of need to see where people stop engaging. So if people don't listen to your stuff, well, your content isn't sticky, or you're not like talking about the right stuff, or you're not advertising it and marketing it properly. So that's the first thing to fix, obviously. If people start listening or consuming your content, but retention is like terrible and 80% of people drop after 5 seconds, your content isn't sticky. People like don't engage with it and don't want to listen to it. So maybe it's a post-production quality, maybe it's just the way you structured the content. Anyways, you need to fix the content as well. If people listen till the end, but don't take action, like don't engage, don't click on the link to download the lead magnets, basically don't take action, either the ask isn't done properly, the name of the lead magnet doesn't sound interesting, or like the value isn't obvious. So you need to fix that first. If people listen till the end and actually click on, hey, click here to download my like playbook on B2B podcasting secrets, and they click but then they don't download, it means that the landing page or the way you are advertising the lead magnet isn't good enough. If they are doing all this and they are actually downloading the lead magnet, but then they are not opening your nurture emails, your subject lines are not good enough. If they are going all the way and opening your emails but not answering and or not clicking, the content of the emails aren't good. So you can kind of see where your funnel is broken based on the behavior and the data of your audience. But for that, once more, you need to track every single thing. Once you arrive at the bottom of the funnel, meaning you have the email addresses, you are nurturing them for like a few days, a few weeks, you want to start putting call to actions towards booking a call, even potentially in some of the first emails as well. And if people are not clicking on booking a call, the value isn't obvious, the problem that they have is not urgent enough, or the way you are advertising the call is not properly done. So when it comes to lead nurture, here is a little trick that I've learned from my mentor, and that is actually absolutely killing it for us and our clients. It is the 3-7-30 rule. So when you capture a new email address, this is where the lead is the hottest. So this is where they are looking to solve a problem. They have literally downloaded a lead magnet to address a specific need. So this is where you have their full attention. And again, if the lead magnet is good, then you have like positive reinforcements. So 3-7-30 rules. In the first 3 days after they've downloaded the lead magnet, you want to send them one email per day. And here it's a mix of different types of emails, but basically this is where you showcase proof, right? So case studies, testimonials, industry insights. You want to be perceived as the authority and the go-to person when it comes to the specific problems that they are trying to solve, because they've downloaded the lead magnet. 7 days after that, you want to start sending one email every other day. Same thing, it can be a mix of case studies, objections, pre-handling, and industry insights. And then for the 30 days after that, it is typically recommended to do 2 emails per week. It will depend on the niche, it will depend on your avatar, it will depend on your market, but that's typically a framework that has served us very, very well, and our clients that I recommend implementing, at least to test. And then you see, right, if people drop, if people unsubscribe, if people don't open the emails, you start being able to understand where the problem is. That is for the audience to clients funnel. I'm going to drop one last thing here. The ultimate level of email nurturing is behavioral sequencing, meaning if people are opening emails, clicking on certain stuff and like responding to certain emails, or opening all the emails or only half of them, you can actually, if you have the advanced tools, you can sequence certain leads and certain emails, being like, okay, this person has opened 3 emails in a row in 3 days. They are definitely engaged, so I'm going to send them more emails. This person is only opening 1 email in 3, although I've sent 3 this week, so I'm going to send 1 email per week. So this is really getting to the next level in terms of like lead nurturing. But again, if you do that properly at scale, you will have more leads than you can handle, and leads who are ready to buy. That is the audience to clients funnel. Let's talk about speaking. So something I explained in the B2B Podcasting Secrets Playbook is that something very interesting happens when you stick with the podcast for long enough, that you're publishing 1 episode per week alongside ICPs, decision makers, influencers in your niche. When you do this for many, many years, sometimes even a few quarters or a few months, you become one of the go-to influencers in your space. When other actors in your niche start seeing that you're building an audience and people are talking about you and people want to come on the podcast, and your podcast is getting numbers, which should be happening, you've done everything that we highlighted in this series of videos, well, they start wanting to associate their brand with yours, their events with yours. And I've talked to a lot of B2B coaches and consultants specifically, and obviously being a keynote speaker, being invited at speaking events, at conferences to give a speech in front of an audience of ideal clients is something that a lot of people are after. Well, this typically happens when you have a leading podcast in a niche. This has happened to us with Corporate Treasury 101. We've been invited to the biggest conference in the space in Europe and in the US. We're actually partners now with the organization, the AFP, the Association for Financial Professionals, that is organizing the biggest event of corporate treasury in the world. But so this is what happens after a long enough period of time. And when you're asked to speak, here is how we go about approaching this for our clients and for ourselves. At very minimum, when they invite you to speak, they should be covering like travel and accommodation. Sometimes they will even offer a speaking fee. And here is the twist. You should refuse it. You should say, hey, thank you so much. Look, what I would like to propose is to actually not take a speaking fee if you're willing to give me your list of attendance and visitors for the events. Because what happens then is that whatever the speaking fee would have been, it's probably nothing in comparison to the ultra qualified list of contacts that you can put your hands on. And next to that, you're not just going to say, yes, so I can spam them. Obviously, the idea is to say, hey, I'm not going to spam them. I just want to select a few to come on the show. So you're providing value. The conference organizers are usually like, oh, that's cool. Not only do visitors get value from coming, they will also potentially be invited on the podcast. And you can also say, I will only send 1 email to the people attending my specific speaking events in case they want to find out more. And that's it. And people who don't manifest interest, I won't email them again. You're building like this a huge database of people that are potential leads. You are building a list of potential amazing guests for your show, and you are literally engaging with people who've attended your speaking events. These murders. And the good thing is now you have not only potentially an offer at the back end of this, you also have a podcast that you can send people back to. So if they are not ready to buy yet, they can get more of you thanks to the content on the podcast. Like, this absolutely murders for people who stick long enough with the podcast. Another thing that we typically recommend doing when you're invited at speaking conference, and that's another ultimate level of podcasting, is to actually propose to record podcast episodes on the exposition and the showroom floor together with visitors. Now, what happens then? Again, conferences want more visitors, more people attending their conferences, more activity, more like memorable moments that they can talk about and advertise. Having a podcast B2B influencer in their niche record live episodes and saying it on the show, like, hey, we are live at the XYZ conference talking to John from whatever. This is a super good marketing play for them. And in order to convince them, you can also propose to not only mention them on the show, but also say, I will share with you the marketing materials of those episodes. You get free communication from these events. Like, those are, when you really take it to the next level, absolute crazy things that you can do with a podcast to not only become the go-to authority in your space, but become an influencer. And when you reach that stage, you will definitely not have a demand problem anymore as a B2B business. Again, if you want to see a case study of this, there is one of our clients in the B2B Podcasting Secrets Playbook. That's for the speaking hack and the being invited to conference hack, which will happen if you stick long enough with the podcast and you interview the right people. Small tip that I don't share in the playbook actually. If you want to kind of try and force that or accelerate that, you can definitely, once the podcast is big enough, invite the events organizers or the CEOs of the companies organizing those events to speak on your show. If you do that ask at the right moment, typically a few months before the event when they are like super heavy on communication, and you say that this will be part of the communication efforts and that you will publish the episode 3-4 months before the event, you can actually speak directly to the CEO, the organizer, the head of partnerships, whatever, of that conference and get you through the door for free, potentially with a speaking gig. Did I tell you that podcasts were awesome? Ultimate level of podcasting. And again, I'm going to put that here. This shouldn't be your priority right now. And I know that when people start a new endeavor, a new journey, a new acquisition channel, they're like, how do I make an ROI as fast as possible on this so that I can justify the cost and then, keep going. So in order to approach B2B sponsors on a podcast, I'm going to take a bit of a tangent here, but that will help us understand much better why I don't recommend doing this from the get-go. There are 4 ways to monetize a podcast, mainly. Number 1 is through ads. So if you've already listened to a podcast, one of the big ones out there, this is going to be dynamic ads typically, so 30-60 second slots at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the episode. That's going to talk about, anything like fast consumer goods, insurance, stuff that are really targeting a wide audience, a wide market. This typically pays $10 to $20 per 1,000 downloads, meaning you need to have a lot of downloads happening on each and every episode to make good money out of this. So obviously, this is much more B2C entertainment, news, podcasts that are going to go for this option. If you have a very narrow niche audience, ads is probably not going to do anything. The second level is communities. So saying, hey, I have a Patreon, I have a paid for community, like if you pay me $5, $10, $20 a month, you can join the community of people listening to the show, like-minded people, and I do 1 extra episode there per month and whatsoever. This is technically not bad. I wouldn't recommend to do this in the first place because we're going to see there are much higher opportunities. But this is a second way to monetize a podcast. The fourth way is to have sponsors. So basically it's asking yourself the question, okay, who is my audience, the ideal clients of? And then going to those companies and saying, hey, I have an audience of that many of your ideal clients. How much would you be willing to pay to have my endorsements and me talking about you on my show? So it will depend on the niche, the quality of the audience, the purchasing power, and so on. But it happened to us to negotiate like $300, $400 per 1,000 downloads deals. So like 15, 20x what you would see in ads. And for very niche B2B spaces, we sometimes see $1, $2 to $3 per downloads contract. So we're talking about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 CPM. That's what we see with sponsors. And this can become seriously good money. Again, case studies in the playbook. But this is not the best way to make money with your podcast. By far, the best way to make money with your podcast is to sell your own stuff. Because if you look at any other aspects here, except for the community, but that's a bit different, ads and sponsor, you're part of the marketing budget of a company, meaning they expect to make a higher return on the investment that they make on your podcast. So obviously you're part of the margin. If you can sell your own stuff, then you take 100% of the margin. You have actually your marketing channel, which is the whole purpose of this playbook and of this series of videos. So you will always make more money and preserve the goodwill of your audience by selling your own stuff rather than something from a third party that you don't control the level of quality of. Those are the 4 ways to monetize the podcast. Now, that being said, the ultimate level of B2B podcasting is B2B sponsors. So when you've made it, right, you have a podcast for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you've become the number one podcast in your space. You are one of the number ones, one of the biggest. You have a loyal audience that listens to you each and every day. They come to you for services, but you're supply constrained. This is where you can start looking into B2B sponsors, in our opinion. What do I mean by that? So because the highest return on investment will always be your own products, it's only interesting to consider B2B sponsors when you literally cannot sell your own products anymore, which only happens in the B2B space when you're supply constrained. And I don't mean like I'm a one-stop shop, I'm a one-person company, and I just cannot sell more of my time. I mean, if you're a business, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying this in the sense of supply constraint for us, and B2B sponsors mean you've tapped out the potential of selling your stuff to your audience, meaning your company is already growing, you're already hiring, training, retaining employees to be able to deliver more. So you're already doing this, and still you have more demand that you can handle. This is where, in our experience, you can consider B2B sponsors. Multiple things happen here. So I would recommend looking at B2B sponsors, so companies for whom your audience is the perfect fit, and they are the perfect fit for your audience as well. The worst thing that you can do when you build a loyal audience is to antagonize them. So look at companies that match your values, will actually do a good job at delivering whatever they're selling to your clients. And cherry on the cake is to actually associate yourself with a brand that will elevate the level of your podcast. To give you a very simple example, my first podcast called Corporate Treasury 101 is now associated with the number one association for financial professionals in the space. Like, they are delivering the number one certification. They have the number one conference and events in the world in corporate treasury. So it's actually a win-win to associate ourselves with them, because they benefit from our audience, but we also benefit from the fact that this makes us ultra legit in front of our audience. So that's really a win-win scenario, and that's what you want to embrace. If you're helping, business owners, entrepreneurs, private equity, whatsoever, being backed by HubSpot or Salesforce, a good brand play, because they see that you're super legit to the point that a company like this would want to associate themselves with your content. This is the absolute ultimate level of B2B podcasting. Of course, in terms of return on investments, money you can make out of sponsors, there are no rules, literally. Like, if you have an audience of 10,000 people listening to you each and every month, but those 10,000 people have a super high purchasing power because you're only creating content for CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, whatever, which actually doesn't make sense because there are only 500 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, not 10,000. You get the idea though. This is extremely valuable, and you can charge whatever you want. And if they disagree, that's fine. You're still making tons of money with your company. So this is like the ultimate level, and this can happen if you stick with it long enough and you're doing it properly, and you have all the things that we discussed in this series of videos and the B2B podcasting secrets playbook. I said it, that was going to be a longer video with much more details, not optimized for retention. If you've watched all the videos of this series, I thank you for your attention dearly. It means the world to me. I hope you got value out of this attention that you've given me. I will do everything in my power to earn more, to help you more. So if you like this, let me know. Like, send me a text, leave a comment, just let me know that this was helpful, how it was helpful, and hopefully this will allow you to launch and or grow a B2B podcast, help more people, make more money, make higher margins, and grow your team and help more people feed their families. Cheers.